Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. I believe we are up and I believe we are good to go. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I'm checking in to make sure everything is up and good. It's good to see everyone here. Thank you so much for hopping on in. We've got a lot to discuss today. Let me tell you a whole bunch. So for anyone that's new here, that's never been part of the live chat before, basically the way this works, you drop your comments, you drop your questions over to the side. We break down all of the latest and greatest gaming news and we chat it up. So make sure you drop those comments, drop those questions, and let me know what all you want to talk about, because really you drive this show. Now, as always, let's kind of kick off the top. What are some of the big topics we can talk about? I think one of the biggest for sure is obviously going to be what's going on with Marvel's Avengers, with all of the PlayStation exclusive content that has been announced for that game. It's pretty crazy. We have Spider-Man that is an exclusive character, pretty much. I mean, arguably the biggest character that Marvel has. You can only play as Spider-Man on PlayStation, and that's being met with some major controversy online all over the place. So there's a whole bunch we can talk about in regards to that. Sony just posted their Q1 financials, which were absolutely stunning. It was the best in the PlayStation division history. So we can break down all of that, talk about all of that. Xcloud is coming in September to Game Pass subscribers. Over 100 games available to play. And then also the last really big piece of news I feel like is State of Play coming up. What are our expectations around that? What are we expecting? What all is Sony going to show? So yeah, a whole bunch to talk about as always with the gaming industry. Two really quick housekeeping notes before I dive into your comments and I dive into your questions. First of all, I was just recently on the Iron Lords podcast. You can find that over on their channel. I had an absolute blast over there. Those guys were great. They were amazing, actually. I feel like we had a really fun conversation. Talked a whole bunch about Xbox. So if you haven't seen that yet, after the chat, head over to the Iron Lords podcast and watch that episode. It was a ton of fun. And then the last housekeeping note really quick. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe. We're almost to 2,000 subscribers. My goal is to hit 2K by my birthday. My birthday is going to be on the 23rd of this month. So I think we can do it. We're pretty close. So if you like doing these chats, make sure you subscribe. All right, everyone. That's all of the housekeeping notes out of the way. Let's get going. Let's get chatting. Let's get talking. We have a whole bunch of super chats dropping, so let me hit those first. Let me make sure I hit those super chats, and thank you everyone so much who is already donating to the super chat. Let's hit those first, and then we'll dive into the rest of the comments. First comment from Kevin Conye. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. Just sending this to show some support for the channel. But hey, if you want to give Paper Mario update, that would be cool. Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it. It means the world to me, the super chats. In regards to Paper Mario, I think it's doing very, very well. I think it's going to be a big success for Nintendo. Globally, it's looking really, really good. We've already seen in the UK, it had the biggest launch ever for the Paper Mario franchise in the UK in physical units. That's not even including digital. So for physical to be the record setter in the UK with digital not included, and we know how much digital has grown, that's a great sign. Had a very good launch in Japan, looks very solid there, and the data that I'm seeing in the US also looks very, very encouraging. So keep in mind, most of the data that we're seeing for Paper Mario right now is physical units. We don't know digital, but we're about to get Nintendo's financials I think it's actually maybe late tonight in US time, or maybe it's tomorrow. Either way, we're about to get the Nintendo results, and we'll have a much clearer update there. So looking good for Paper Mario. Thank you, Kevin. We got another super chat here from Timur. The Game Awards predictions, if they happen. Thank you so much, Timur. Thank you so much for the donation. Keep up the awesome work over there on Twitter. I think they are going to happen. I think the Game Awards cutoff is going to be later than normal because we have, next-gen consoles launching in November. We have Cyberpunk coming in late. We have games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming in hot right at the end of the year. So I do expect there to be a Game Awards. I think it's probably going to be later than normal this year. I think it's going to happen. Last of Us obviously is going to be nominated. I wouldn't be surprised to see Final Fantasy VII Remake up there in the nominations. And then, of course, we have stuff like Cyberpunk and who knows, Assassin's Creed and the launch titles for next gen. So I do think they're going to happen. My main prediction, Timor, though, is that it's just going to be later than normal because of the next gen launch. Killian here with the super chat. Hey Benji, with the Spider-Man DLC being exclusive on PlayStation, how will this affect Avengers in terms of features like cross-play and the post-launch support? Yeah, so let's start diving into this Avengers stuff. Killian, I think, the key here, interesting part of what you're asking is, how does it affect cross-play in terms of like with different platforms? Because Spider-Man is an exclusive character to PlayStation. That would be a big bummer if you're on Xbox or PC and you get into a multiplayer game and there's someone playing as Spider-Man and you're frustrated because you cannot even play as that character. They could still do cross-platform play on it. As of now, that's not announced. But Killian, I won't be surprised if you don't see cross-platform play come to this game, which is a bummer because a lot of games are going cross-play now. Minecraft, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite. So it could happen. Maybe they'll just have it where whenever you play crossplay, you can't play as Spider-Man because it's exclusive to the PlayStation version. So maybe if you go into that crossplay multiplayer, that character is locked out. You can only play as the ones on all platforms. But yeah, it very well could affect how crossplay works. And in terms of post-launch, it looks like Sony has a lot of timed exclusives on that as well. Thanks so much for the super chat, Killian. And then we have two more super chats, and then I'm going to go to the top and hit those questions right from the top. J-Dub with a donation saying, hey, Benji, here to show my support and hear those magical, beautiful PlayStation numbers. Thank you so much, J-Dub. Really, really appreciate it. That's really kind of you. We're going to break down all of that very soon. Thanks, J-Dub. And then Split End 89 saying 2 live chats in search right now. Ooh, interesting. 2 live chats. I'm not sure what's going on. I apologize. If there's questions dropping into the other live chat, that is a bummer. But this is the only one that I'm on. Whatever chat I have pulled up right now, that is the one that we're going with. So I'm not sure why there's another live chat going. I'm going to try and delete that other video. One sec. Give me just a second, y'all. I'm going to delete the one that has 2 watching. And then we're going to get back to your questions. I think we're going to be good now. All right, we should be good. We should be down to 1 live chat. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, let's go to the top. I want to hit these questions. Red Hood with the first question right off the bat outside of the super chats. Hello, Benji. My question for you is, if the PS5 truly only lasts 5 years, do you think some first-party studios like Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch would skip PS5 entirely and make PS6 games instead? Red Hood, couple thoughts there. Firstly, I think this gen is going to go longer than 5 years. I know that's one of the kind of like reported things out there that's going on, is that this gen might be shorter, it might be condensed. I think this might come from the DigiTimes article that came out where they were talking about the sales expectations and stuff around PlayStation. 5 years seems awfully short to me, considering, like you're mentioning here and hinting at, development cycles have gotten really long for a lot of games, right? A lot of games now take 3 years at least for many of them, anything that's AAA, and many take 4, 5, 6 years even for a few. So it would be pretty surprising for me to see an only 5-year generation, because most studios at 5 years are probably only going to put out 1 AAA game, maybe 2. 6 years, you can definitely get 2 out for most AAA studios, but a lot of games have 3-year dev cycles. It's kind of, I don't want to generalize, but for a lot of games that you notice, if you look, it's about 3 years to get a game out when it's not a new IP, right? Whenever it's a sequel, obviously new IPs take even longer because you have to design the game, you have to come up with the concepts, etc., etc. So 5 years just seems short to me. 6 years I could see. But 5 does seem a little short. If we get a 5-year gen, I think you're going to see Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog not skip the gen. They'll get games out, but you might only see 1. You might only see 1 from At least that's next gen only, right? Maybe if there was a console after that, the PlayStation 6, could be cross gen coming in there at the end, but especially companies like Rockstar, for example. So Red Hood, I would stick with a 6-year prediction for next gen instead of 5 personally. The Arkham Knight Hero. Hey Benji, do you think Horizon Zero Dawn and Zero Dawn 3 and Spider-Man 3 will be PS6 launch titles instead of late PlayStation 5 titles to encourage and boost the sales of PS6, especially since Sony said they believe in gens? Ooh, that's a good question, Arkham Knight. So let's think about it. We know that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be coming out, 2021 is the target. So pretty early in the generation, right? Basically within that first year. Arkham Knight, it's a good question, but I don't think they'll save Horizon Zero Dawn 3. I think it will be a late gen title. Could be wrong. You never know. We didn't see many Sony franchises, for example, get 2 entries on current gen. So that is a good point, Arkham Knight. Let's think about it. The Last of Us, there was only one true new Last of Us game this generation. We had, The Last of Us Remastered, but we just had one The Last of Us sequel. Uncharted, we got kind of, I would say, 1.5. We got Uncharted 4 and we got Lost Legacy, but we didn't get Uncharted 4 and Uncharted 5. We didn't get 2 Killzones. We didn't get 2 Horizons. We didn't get 2 Spider-Man. So Arkham Knight, on one hand, that is a very good point in that, we didn't see tons of multiple sequels on one generation for PlayStation. So it could happen, but I think Arkham Knight, that Horizon's so early, I do think it will be a late gen launch. I think you're going to see, Forbidden West in 2021 and then Horizon 3 probably 3 to 4 years after that. So right at the tail end of the generation to close it out. But they could save it if they wanted to, Arkham Knight. It very well could happen, but I would expect that. Spider-Man 3, though, I could see being launched for next gen because we have Spider-Man Miles Morales coming at the end of this gen, at the beginning of this gen, but that's not Spider-Man 2, right? It's kind of like an in-between game, and we haven't had Spider-Man 2 announced yet. So I'm thinking that the Spider-Man full sequel is probably late 2021 or 2022, because I think if it was earlier, we might have gotten a dual announcement. It might have been one of these things where Sony said, hey, Spider-Man Miles Morales this holiday, and you can get the sequel next year. So I'm thinking it's probably 2022 for Spider-Man 2. So it could be, yeah, that very well could be a PS6 launch title, but I think you'll see 2 Horizons. Star Wars Battlefront 2 updates. Hey Benji, how are you doing? Do you think COVID-19, I'm doing good. Do you think COVID-19 will extend the lifespan of the PlayStation 5 because Sony will barely ship 10 million units by March 21? Also, do you think more game delays are incoming cause COVID-19? Star Wars Battlefront 2 updates. I think COVID long-term won't have too much impact on the PlayStation 5 lifespan because maybe I'm an optimist, but I'm hoping in the, within the next year or two, we have this whole pandemic thing slightly figured out. I really hope we're not in a position where years and years into this generation, we're still having COVID issues. My goal is that the world can hopefully get it in check. So I don't think it'll affect long-term the PlayStation 5 or Series X life cycles all that much. Just because, like I said, hopefully we're past this by then. If we're still dealing with COVID issues that late, we've got bigger problems than just how long it's going to affect the life cycle of consoles. So in regards to more games seeing delays, I don't think publicly announced games, but there could have been some games that internally got delayed because of this. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think a lot of studios are up and running fine with work from home now, but we know that for some teams, that was a multi-month thing where they were trying to get everything up and running. Not everyone was prepared for this. So my hunch is that we could have some games delayed that we didn't even know were delayed because they weren't announced. Internally, they caught a delay, and I could see that being a very real scenario. I don't think anything announced right now is going to catch any more delays, just stuff that internally already was delayed. Costa's saying, I forgot about the stream and didn't think of any questions beforehand. Do I expect Ghost of Tsushima to top 4 million in its first month? Yes, it did 2.4 million in 3 days. 4 million in its first full month? Yep, I definitely think so. It's showing really good signs with legs. So yeah, 4 million in its first month, I think definitely could happen. Definitely. And then a follow-up here from Costas. If Monster Hunter World is at 16 million, where would you place Spider-Man, Far Cry 5, and God of War? I asked specifically for those because they were the same year, and we have NPD figures for 2018. It's tough to say, Costas, because of digital. Game sales predictions, like in terms of legs, is getting harder, especially in exact units, is getting tougher and tougher because so much is shifting to digital, especially this last quarter. We just saw, I mean, for example, Sony announced over 70% of games sold digitally for the quarter. That is insane. And I can tell you, Costas, digital is much harder to track than physical. Much, much harder to track. So very hard to say. Spider-Man, what was the last figure we got for Spider-Man? Was it over 13 million for Spidey? Have we gotten an update past that? Let me check, because I'm actually honestly not sure. If so, I would say it's over 15 million now for sure. I want to check this really quick. Yeah, 13.2 million units was its last update in last August. Definitely over 15 million. I would say definitely over 15 million for Spider-Man. You know, it could be, who knows, it could be 16 million. But I think at least 15 million. If that was last August, I mean, dude, that's like a year. So actually, it could be way over 15 now that I think about it. A year's worth of sales could be a lot higher, actually. But I would say minimum of 15 million plus, since the last update was 13 million. And Far Cry and God of War, you know, God of War is probably close to 15 million or over at this point now too, because we knew it was over 10 million and it keeps selling. So those are just some kind of rough estimates. But again, it's really hard to know with the way digital landscape's shifting. Samad. Hey Benji, thoughts on Spider-Man's exclusive to PlayStation? I think it's a great move by Sony, as they are reiterating PlayStation as the best place to play, as they claim. Plus, it brings a lot of new customers as well. It is definitely not an anti-consumer move, and rather I consider it pro-consumer, because their consumers are people who already have a PlayStation and Sony has to look after them. And then the last part here, just because it doesn't make people who are not PlayStation owners happy, doesn't make the move anti-consumer. Thoughts? I have mixed thoughts on Spidey. By the way, the stream's over 100 live viewers. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for taking the stream to over 100. It's an awesome number to see for my channel. Thank you so much for over 100 live viewers in the chat. Thank you. All right, so let's break down Spidey. This is a bit of a hot mess and hot topic. So let me first talk about how I feel about it in terms of business, because that's my main focus, right? The main thing when I look at the industry and I analyze the industry and I break this all down, I try to look at it from a sales and business perspective. So in terms of business, I completely understand the move. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about my personal thoughts later. So for anyone that is really against this, I don't love it from a consumer standpoint either, but let's look at what happened with Destiny, because this is what it reminds me the most of. It reminds me the most of Destiny and Call of Duty are the two biggest examples I can think of. Destiny really swung to PlayStation off of those deals. Don't get me wrong, the Xbox community was very big, but PlayStation was really the big chunk of Destiny players. The vast majority of Destiny players were on PlayStation. Now that since has shifted around, you know, since the PC launch and things like this, but let's just say early on, that early Destiny 1, it was really PlayStation heavy. I can't give some of the launch unit data because that's all NDA, but let's just say even that early in the console generation cycle, it was very PlayStation heavy on sales. So I think Sony has seen the success that they got off Destiny sales, because remember, Sony gets a cut of all third-party sales that are sold for the PlayStation. They're getting a cut of that. So they want to sell those third-party games on their console, not on Xbox and not on PC. So I think they saw how much money they made off Destiny, how much money they got with Call of Duty and the Call of Duty marketing deals and the map pack deals and all this kind of stuff. And I think internally, Sony's viewing Avengers as probably being a pretty huge game. They've seen how big Spider-Man was for sales. Spider-Man was a gigantic success. Avengers is a gigantic property. So Sony probably was looking at Avengers and they said, hey, this has potential to be huge. We want to sell these games on our system, not on our competitors. And so they made some deals. They cut some checks and they made some deals. Sony, as we are clearly seeing, is very open to spending money for exclusive content. They did a full exclusive deal with Final Fantasy VII Remake for a full year, and that's after Final Fantasy has been a multi-platform franchise for a while now, so that wasn't cheap either. So Sony clearly, from a business standpoint, is seeing the results, seeing that these deals are worth it to them, and they're spending the money. So I can't fault Sony in that regard. Totally makes sense to me why they would do that. Now I'm going to talk about how I feel about it as a consumer. I don't love it. I don't love it at all, mostly because, I mean, the timed stuff doesn't bother me too much, right? The stuff that's like 30 days, exclusive emotes and skins and things like that was just announced. That doesn't really bother me too much. It's annoying, but 30 days isn't that long of a wait for people to be able to get this stuff on other platforms. That one, I'm like, kind of whatever. You see that all the time, stuff small like that. But the Spider-Man one in particular, I don't love it. And I don't love it because one thing I see is some people saying that, Spider-Man is exclusive to PlayStation. It's a PlayStation thing. Well, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 just came out on Switch and that had Spider-Man in it. Like there was just a Marvel game on another platform with Spidey. So Spidey's not just locked down to PlayStation. And I just feel like something that big of a character, if he's permanently exclusive, man, that is a bummer for PC and Xbox people. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm not one of these people that's calling for boycotts and raging online over it. I still think if Avengers is a good game and you've got an Xbox or PC, it's probably still worth picking up as long as the game's good. But I don't love it from a consumer standpoint. I know that as a Destiny player, I played Destiny on PlayStation because of that exclusive content. And dude, the exclusives that were like a year timed were pretty big. They were stuff like strikes and things like that. And I remember thinking back when I played Destiny, man, this would be a bummer to be on Xbox and not have access to this content. Like that would really be a bummer. So I definitely feel bad for people on other platforms. I kind of wish this wasn't the case of what was happening, but in terms of business, remember, whenever I analyze business, I have to separate my personal thoughts and my analysis. I get why Sony did it. I totally get it. They've convinced me to buy it on PlayStation. I was originally going to wait and I was going to decide, hey, what does this, because I'm not going to play it until next gen. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not buying this game in September. I'm buying it, whenever the new consoles come out and I can get the enhanced, better versions. But I was going to wait. I was going to see which one does this play better on, but Spider-Man's a big deal. So I'm going PlayStation now. It worked. It worked on me as someone who has both. And that's why they make these deals. So I hope that kind of clears it up. I feel for people that don't have Spidey. Trust me, I feel your pain. But business-wise, I get it. I get why Sony would do it. All right. Split End 89. Do you think the Bloomberg reports that PS5 still has planned announcements for this month are correct? First of all, Split End, thank you so much for being here and moderating the chat. Split End, you're amazing. Best mod in the business in my book. We missed you that week that you weren't here. So thank you so much, Split End, for all the work you do here on the channel. I know me and everyone in this chat appreciates it. In terms of the PlayStation announcement, yeah, so let's kind of touch on that state of play news. So we've been knowing for a while that there's a big state of play on the way, right? We knew from the very first rumors with Jeff Grubb, he was kind of hinting at this. He was doing his whole summer game mess and all that stuff. And we've had rumor mills now for, it seems like months that there would be an August state of play. Me, and I think probably everyone out there, except for like the ultra insiders, I'm not some ultra insider for anything but sales. I know a few things behind the scenes, and most of the stuff that I truly do know, I don't talk about because I don't want to, potentially hurt anyone. But I'm not an ultra insider for secrets, right? I'm no Jeff Grubb whenever it comes to that. With sales, I am. With sales, I'm about as insider as you can get. But regardless, state of play, I was assuming like basically everyone, hey, there's going to be some PlayStation 5 news. Maybe we're going to get some pre-order data. Maybe we're going to get some, release dates. I was personally expecting all of this. And then all of a sudden Sony comes out with this PlayStation blog post and they're like, hey, don't expect any PlayStation news for PS5 except for updates, on some of the indie games that we saw and some of the third-party stuff. But they flat out said, don't expect pre-orders, don't expect price, don't expect date. All of this caught me completely by surprise. I was not expecting that. I thought this was going to be a big PS5 event. We just had Microsoft's big event in July. I thought, hey, Sony's scheduling this state of play to be able to rapidly fire back to Microsoft's announcements. And no, it's mostly PlayStation 4 and PSVR focused, with, like I said, some third-party updates. So split end, do I believe the Bloomberg report that PS5 has announcements planned? I'm going to say yes, because how are we going to go this long with no price? Technically, they can wait, right? I mean, I think so many people are excited for PS5 and Xbox Series X that whatever. They're not even like panicking about price. We want the console. We're going to go out. We're going to buy it. The price is a nice bonus to know, but it's not like a make or break for the people that are going to get in on day one. So technically, I think they can wait, but I don't like it. I don't like waiting this long for something that's going to be really expensive, right? I think we all think it's probably going to be at least $500. Maybe 400 for the digital, but probably the standard PlayStation 5, I'm expecting 500. So something that expensive, I feel like we should know the price. We got to save up. We got to buy games. We got to buy controllers. We got to buy headsets. There's like so much that goes into this. They can wait, but split end, I'm going to believe the report. I'm going to believe they're still waiting in this whole stare-off price war with Microsoft. And I think that Sony's probably thinking, let's let Microsoft announce with the Lockhart event. Maybe Microsoft's going to announce price then, and then Sony will swoop in afterwards and drop their PlayStation 5 news for, launch date and price. But who knows? I'll tell you what, if Microsoft does this Lockhart event and we don't get a price tag and we don't get a launch date or anything there either, oh my gosh, how long can we keep this stare off going? You know what I mean? So split end, I'm going to choose to believe the report. I hope it's accurate. And then another question here from Samad saying, sorry for a lot of questions. Completely understandable, completely good. Thank you for being part of the chat. Thanks everyone who's been part of the chat. We've been up over 120 live viewers for this chat. This is going to be one of my biggest ever on the channel. So thank you so much, everyone. It really does mean a lot to me to see the chat, popping off and doing awesome. Thank you. And then your question here, do you think Sony will improve and market PlayStation Now to compete with Game Pass, or do they simply not care that much? Samad, I'm going to say that they do improve it to compete with Game Pass. I think they need to, because subscriptions are in many ways the future of this industry. There's still a whole bunch of, it's not the only path. What we're seeing is I see some people say, it's all about just subscription, or eventually it's going to be just free to play and all these kinds of things. I don't like to box in the business side of the industry because we've seen so many successes. We've seen free to play games be successful. We've seen $60 full price games be successful, physical, digital, everything. So keep in mind, subscription is not the only successful path in the future, but it is a big one. It's very big. And PS Now has had much slower growth than Game Pass. Keep in mind, PS Now started before Game Pass was a thing, and Game Pass has far more subscribers. Now, there's two real reasons for that. A, it's on PC. Microsoft's getting millions of subscribers through PC, and then also Microsoft is putting their games day one, day and date on Game Pass, whereas obviously Sony is not. So, there's very real reasons why Game Pass is so much higher. But I think Sony does want PS Now to be a lot more successful than it is. You're seeing the third-party offerings improve from them into PS Now. You're seeing it get better value. So Samad, I would expect some big bonuses and improvements to PS Now next gen. What exactly those are going to be, I don't know. I'd like to see their first party games hit quicker than they do right now. I think it's unrealistic to expect day one the next God of War to be on PS Now. I don't see that happening at all. Sony likes those full price sales too much. But I would like to see, hey, within 12 months of launch, this game's on PS Now. 12 to a year and a half. Instead of waiting like 2-3 years for PS Now, I would just like to see it come in quicker. And I think that would help raise their subscribers a lot. Split End 89 shouting out, make sure to hit that like button. Thank you, Split End. I always appreciate the likes. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps people discover my channel. We're almost to 2,000 subscribers, so the likes will help us get there. Thank you so much. Brigadier Williams saying hello there. Hello, Brigadier. Sorry, I'm going to try and I'm trying to like selectively pick some questions now. We're at only 30 minutes. We're going to go for, at least an hour, but we have 120 plus, almost 130 concurrent viewers in here. So we have a ton of questions. So I'm trying to be a little bit picky today because there's so many. It's a big chat today. So Forzathon saying Fall Guys has broken the internet. Yeah, so anyone that hasn't seen the Fall Guys data, wow, Fall Guys is looking very impressive. It's number one on Twitch. Last time I checked, it was way over 300,000 viewers on Twitch. I haven't checked in a while, so that could be like significantly higher now. It had very high concurrent numbers on Steam, tons of stuff. Number one seller on Steam globally. Yeah, Fall Guys is looking like a huge breakout success, and that's with massive server issues. They've been having server issues all morning, dropping in and out. So clearly this game, yeah, it's kind of breaking the internet in regards to that. So congrats to the team over there. It's going to be free for PlayStation Plus owners, subscribers this month. Yeah, Fall Guys is looking like, at least at launch, like the next, it reminds me of Rocket League. That's what it reminds me of. Now, keep in mind, Rocket League has had amazing long-term success and growth and people sticking with it. This is day one for Fall Guys, so who knows? Fall Guys could be huge for a month or two and then not anymore. We don't really know, but that's what it reminds me of. Rocket League was this huge success, launched with PlayStation Plus, was big right out of the gate. That's what I'm getting, major Rocket League vibes from Fall Guys. So congrats to the team. And then another interesting one here from Forzathon. Benji, do you think the voice of core gaming audiences against anti-consumer practices in big games doesn't matter as much since the size of this audience is comparatively quite small? So this kind of follows up on a tweet that I had sent out that got really big, that I wasn't expecting to be really big. It's kind of funny. Sometimes you send a random tweet that you think is really good and it doesn't get much traction. And then other times you send out a tweet where you're just like, oh, okay, here's a quick thought, and it blows up. That one's over, last time I saw, like over 3,000 likes and stuff, something kind of crazy. But yeah, so let's talk about this. The tweet that I'm mentioning said basically, what we've seen is that a lot of these gamer boycotts have not been successful. These games that are very controversial, where people say they're not going to buy the game, I don't like this business practice, so I'm not buying it. Very, very rarely have we ever seen that play out with the data. The Last of Us Part 2, hugely controversial online, didn't affect sales. Pokemon Sword and Shield, massively controversial online, didn't affect sales. I could go on and on and on, right? But there are exceptions to the rule where it did affect it. I would say a prime example for that would be Star Wars Battlefront 2. That was a game that I saw a lot of controversy online, and I think it did play out in real-world data. You saw Battlefront 2 underperform at launch. Now it's really turned around. That game actually is a much better game nowadays, and they've kind of said it's been successful for them long term, but out of the gate, it was disappointing, and I think a big part of that was the controversy around the loot box, around the microtransactions, the pay to win mechanics. So I wouldn't say it's impossible that this whole Spider-Man controversy affects Avengers. It could. What I will say, though, and I'm just being honest here, I think it's unlikely to affect it in a grand scheme of things, because as you mentioned, Forzathon, a lot of people are not going to be clued into this. It's important to remember the Twitter community is huge. The Twitter gaming community, the forums gaming community is huge. Let's not say that this is nobody. It's millions of people that engage online, but let's say it's a couple million. Let's say we have several million gamers that are on Twitter all the time, that are on Reddit all the time, that are on, Reset Era and forums all the time talking about games. Let's say that's millions. There's hundreds of millions of gamers, hundreds of millions, not 10 million. Let's say it's 10 million people that are super, super active on social media. There's almost 120 million just PS4s out there. So again, it is a small representation, but I don't want to ignore it either. I would just say I think it's unlikely that the Spider-Man controversy is going to really affect sales. I don't think it's very likely. Could happen. It's not unprecedented, but history usually tells us the future, and typically these quote boycotts have no effect. But what I will say to follow that up really quick is, if you don't like this, I do think you should make your voice heard. I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, shut up and sit down, just take whatever the gaming industry gives you. I'm not going to tell you that. If you really are opposed to this Spider-Man thing, if you really don't like the business practice, then make your voice heard. Definitely let people know what you think about it. Oh, we got a super chat. Let me hit that super chat really quick. Let me scroll down. Thank you for all the super chats today, by the way, everyone. Thank you. It means the world to me. I don't make a whole lot of money off of ad revenue. For me, a really big video is like 2,000 views. I can tell you for ad revenue, that's like $2. So no one ever feel pressured to donate anything, but thank you so much for the super chats. It really does help me out. Penny Unwise. I think a lot of people forget just how many exclusive Xbox has coming. It's a great point. The Initiative is the biggest studio, and we didn't see anything from them. Pennywise, I think you're spot on. And let me kind of piggyback off this too. I want to go into 2 points of view on this, Pennywise, or Penny Unwise. First of all, yes, we've only seen, I believe it was this last showcase was 9 of the 15 studios, if I recall correctly. So just a little over half of their studios showed content at this last one. So there's a whole lot that we haven't seen, right? We haven't seen Compulsion's next game. We haven't seen, like you said, the Initiative's game. We haven't seen the next game from the Coalition, which I'm sure is the next Gears. But again, we haven't seen that. There's a lot of studios and a lot of teams at Microsoft that we haven't seen anything from yet. So there is a whole lot more on the way that hasn't been announced. And then what I'll also say is that, this whole last showcase kind of caught a little bit of heat from Microsoft, but I think a lot of the announcements there were very cool. I'm very excited for Fable. I'm very excited for Avowed. I'm excited for a lot of the games they announced. It's just, it didn't get the kind of traction, I think, that those announcements could have gotten if we saw more. I think if Fable showed gameplay, if Avowed showed gameplay, those would be a lot bigger and a lot more anticipated than they currently are, because really all we saw was kind of CG trailers with kind of names attached to them. So there's still a whole bunch of goodness coming from Microsoft. I'm excited for their game output as well. And then Gaming Addict here dropping a super chat. Thank you so much, Gaming Addict, saying super chat them questions, guys. I appreciate it, but again, no one ever feel pressured to drop super chats. I do appreciate them. I will always hit the super chat, but I also want to hit questions for people that can't donate in the super chat. Not everyone's got money to spare, so I completely understand. I try to hit as many questions, super chat or not, as possible. All right, we have tons in here, so let me hit some more. Let me get this popping. Sorry, I'm scrolling through here trying to pick some out. I know we got some dead air at the moment. Split End. With 40 minutes to fill at the state of play, what shows up? Call of Duty is nearly guaranteed. But what about maybe Overwatch 2? Split End. You are speaking to my soul here. Anyone that knows me, I'm a giant Overwatch fan. I still play Overwatch basically every single day. I watch Overwatch League. I'm an Overwatch fanatic. I know some people have dropped off Overwatch over time, but I love Overwatch. It's probably my favorite multiplayer game ever. Split End, I would love to see it there. It has been a while. So that is theoretically, I would say, possible Split End. We haven't seen any update from Overwatch 2 in quite a long time. So I would think that they're going to be in a position to show that somewhat soon. There was a rumor at one point that Overwatch 2 was going to come out this year. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, Split End. I think COVID probably impacted that. So if that was originally planned to come out late this year, I'm thinking that got moved to next year just because of how quiet things have been. I would say Overwatch 2 is possible, but I'm going to label it as kind of unlikely as of now. Call of Duty, I think, is a shoo-in. I would be... I mean, if Call of Duty's not here, where is Call of Duty? Is it still coming out, right? We're in August. Usually Call of Duty is announced by May, usually. So we're months behind the marketing schedule on that game. If Call of Duty is not at the state of play, I'm starting to question if it's even coming out this year. I'm starting to really question that. So I would say Call of Duty is a lock-in. I think probably Resident Evil 8, because if you remember, they said expect some updates for some of the third-party games that were at that show. Resident Evil 8 is a game that we've seen in-game assets of, so it's pretty far along. So Resident Evil 8 Village, I would say, is very likely. I find it interesting they say PSVR, because we don't have a ton of PSVR announcements right now. So there could be some pretty cool PSVR stuff revealed there. And they also said some indie games. So that's kind of the stuff that I'm expecting Split End. But yeah, I think the big one's probably going to be Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty is going to get a pretty big chunk of this showing. And if it's not there, who knows? I think I just saw a super chat drop. So I want to hit that super chat really quick before I go back to these other questions. Yep, we got a super chat here from Deacon LGSR. Thank you so much, Deacon. Thank you so much. By the way, everyone, I think this is the biggest live chat this channel's ever had. I'm pretty sure. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure this is the record setter for the live chat. We've been over 130 now for almost most of the chat. For me, that's really big. So thanks to anyone that's new to the channel, that's doing this for the first time. I do these twice a week. I think this is the biggest live chat ever. So thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. All right, and then Deacon's question here with the super chat. Do you think budget constraints for the Xbox division is causing them to not be able to compete with Sony in terms of exclusives? Interesting, Deacon. No, now. In the past, yes. So one thing that's not super public is that at one point, the Xbox division did see budget constraints. They did get a little bit tightened on how much money they were getting after the Xbox One launch, when things kind of, at least from what I've heard, again, I'm not 100% ultra insider on the business side of things. I do get a little bit more inside info than I would say like, secret games. But from what I've heard, if this is accurate, I have heard reported that yes, after the Xbox One launch, when sales kind of slowed down, when they weren't doing as big as I think Microsoft was expecting after this big success that was the 360, that they did see some budget constraints, that they did get that paycheck shrunk down a little bit. What I can say is now that has been significantly increased through Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella's relationship, with Phil Spencer getting promoted within Xbox, and the whole Game Pass thing and the buying studios thing. So Deacon, I would say as of now, like let's just say right now today, no, I don't think it's a budget issue for Xbox. I think the bigger issue for them in terms of like competing with Sony is that Sony studios are top tier, and it's taken them a very long time to make these studios top tier. You can have a big budget, but you also have to foster the talent. You have to foster the environment. You have to get these studios, really working at a very good workflow together and creating multiple games and really, you know what I mean? You have companies like Naughty Dog now that have been juggernauts for so long, but they weren't always. If you look at early Naughty Dog, they weren't these, Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2 type games. If you look early on, if you look at Uncharted 1, for example, that game was good, but it wasn't like this kind of crazy Game of the Year awards everywhere scenario. It took a long time to build that studio up. If you look at Sucker Punch, Ghost of Tsushima is amazing. They've had some great games. They've had Sly Cooper. They've had things like this, but you can see the build up as they just kept getting more and more and more quality. Same thing with Sony Santa Monica. You know what I mean? It can go on and on. Sony's studios are just really, really developed. They've really fostered the talent. Microsoft, I feel, is better doing that now. And especially as they've bought some studios that are more established, like Playground Games, for example, who have made a bunch of games and they've proven their quality. Keep in mind, a studio like the Coalition was a new studio. 343 was a new studio. The Initiative, it's a brand new studio. So Microsoft's in this building phase, whereas Sony, they're there. They've already done the work, and that's why their studios are there. So I hope that makes sense, Deacon. Budget, I would say at one point was an issue, but now it's more just Microsoft needs to build these teams up and foster the talent. Another super chat here. From Otacon, thank you so much. Saying, have you heard anything about Silent Hill? I have not, Otacon. I have not. I don't know if that rumor is real or not. I have no idea. That is something I have no inside info on. When that rumor first started, I thought it was probably real because there was like multiple people reporting it. But as time has gone on, that is starting to look less and less likely. Because I don't know, like nothing has been shown or leaks, like big leaks about it. So Otacon, I don't know anything about it. If it is real, I don't have that info. But as of now, I'm more doubting it. I'm more doubting it than I did at one point. All right, scrolling back up. Let me make sure I missed no super chats on my way back up. Holy cow, there's so many questions. Oh, Your Chaos had a super chat. Thank you so much, Your Chaos. I missed that one. No question on that one, just the super chat. Thank you. All right, back to these non-super chat questions. All right. Killian here with Fall Guys has gotten review bombed on Steam by people who haven't played the game due to servers issues. I feel so bad for them. The game is awesome. Killian, I feel for the team as well. It is a bummer. What I will say is that a lot of times that turns around once they fix it. So especially on Steam, I would say places like Metacritic get kind of worse reviewed bombed where it never turns around. It just gets straight up review bombed and then there's like no bounce back. What I've seen a lot, Killian, Grounded, for example, at one point was getting very hammered on negative Steam reviews when it first came out with server issues. And then over time, those reviews improved on Steam. So Killian, I would say I definitely feel bad for the Fall Guys team. The servers are getting completely destroyed. But what I will say, Killian, the game seems to be really good. People seem to like it. So I think once the server issues get fixed, you're going to see those reviews go way back up. So it's a bummer for now, but I don't think it's a permanent problem for Fall Guys. People will probably change their review once that they can get into games easy and it's not an issue. Sean Torres, do you think the reason Microsoft hasn't done a deal with Marvel/Disney is because they see Disney Plus as a main competitor to Game Pass? Sean, I do find it interesting that there has been no deal from Microsoft. Marvel clearly shops their games around. They kind of license around, and we've seen Marvel games be successful. We've seen now Nintendo make an exclusive with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. We've seen Sony make an exclusive with Spider-Man, and now a big marketing deal around Avengers. Sean, I would love to see Microsoft do one too. I think it'd be cool to see what a Microsoft first-party team could do with the game. Let's say that there's still so many characters that haven't been done in the games yet, right? A Doctor Strange game would be sweet. That would be a dream come true to me. A Black Panther game would be amazing. Like, there's so many IP out there that can still be used. So, Sean, I would love to see Microsoft do one. I think it'd be good for them, good for Marvel, good for everybody involved. But why they haven't done one, I'm not sure. It's a great question. We've seen superhero games can be really big, really successful. I don't know. Sean, I don't have an answer for you on that one. The Disney Plus is an interesting question because keep in mind, we've seen Netflix state that they view gaming as a main competitor, even though they view stuff like Hulu and stuff as competitors as well. They also view video games like Fortnite as competition because people only have so much time, right? Whether you're watching a movie, whether you're watching a TV show, whether you're playing a video game, there's only so much time in your day. So all of these media are kind of competing with each other. So, Sean, it's possible they could view Disney Plus as part of the issue, but I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you there, but I'd love to see it happen. 2 more super chats dropping. My goodness. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. This is the most successful stream this channel has ever had. Thank you so much. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I appreciate your generosity and everything. Thank you so much. All right, let's hit these 2 more super chats. Timor72299. If you like pulling out like anyone that likes to find out like budgets on games and things like this, Timor does a really good job of pulling that up. He's on Twitter, or she's on Twitter, or Timor in general is on Twitter. I highly recommend giving them a follow. If you like that info, like budgets on games and stuff, Timor's always pulling that stuff out. So thank you, Timor. Do you think we will see Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding sequels if the recent LinkedIn leak is to be believed? Timor, I would say Ghost of Tsushima is a lock. I think you're definitely going to get a Ghost of Tsushima sequel. It's selling way too strongly, way too good. It's going to be by far the most successful game Sucker Punch has ever made. So it'd be kind of surprising to take a studio that just had their biggest success and then put them on something else, like an Infamous game, for example. I love Infamous. Don't get me wrong. I really like that franchise, actually. But I think Infamous is going to be on the back burner for Sucker Punch. I think probably another new IP is mostly off of the table because they're going to be, all in on Ghost of Tsushima. So there's a whole bunch of other stories you can tell in a samurai setting. This is just one. My hunch, Timor, if they do a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, all new story, new characters, new everything. They'll probably keep the Ghost of branding because I feel like that's probably the branding, and just drop off Tsushima and put something else. Ghost of, whatever, and tell another samurai story. So, Timor, Ghost of Tsushima, I think that's a lock. Death Stranding's a more interesting question. Death Stranding, we know, didn't post a loss. We know it got past the break-even point. Kojima has said the game made a profit. We just don't know how much. From the data we've seen, it doesn't seem that it was necessarily this like gigantic, crazy, insanely profitable game, but it's also been out on Steam now, and Steam seems to have done decent for it. So it seems to have made some money, Timor. I would categorize Ghost of Tsushima sequel 100% locked. Not even a single doubt in my mind that's the next game from Sucker Punch. Death Stranding I'm going to put as more, could go either way. I would love to see it. I know Death Stranding isn't the kind of game that was met universally with acclaim. I loved that game. It was one of my favorite games last year. I love Kojima's stuff. He's crazy, he's out there, and I like weird stuff. So I'd love to see it, but Death Stranding I'm not going to say is a lock. Another super chat, Mariano Pampa. Thank you so much. Hey Benji, with Microsoft having the marketing rights to big games like Cyberpunk and Valhalla, do you think this would help any sales for Xbox? Mariano, I do actually. I do think. Here's what I'll say. I think it will help those games skew further in the direction of Microsoft third-party sales, like the actual unit sales, and then that in turn makes Microsoft more money. So keep in mind, every copy of Cyberpunk and every copy of Valhalla that gets sold, Microsoft's going to get a chunk of that money, right? So that's the exactly reason you're seeing Avengers with this deal, because Sony wants a bigger chunk of that Avengers money. So Mariano Pampa, I definitely think it's going to help their software sales for their games. I think you'll see more encouraging splits on that end. I would still guess PlayStation gets the bigger chunk in terms of console sales of those games, just because it has a bigger install base. But it definitely helps them. I would say, here's what I will say, Mariano Pampa. Let's say that the Cyberpunk and Valhalla next-gen versions, the enhanced versions, let's say they run quite a bit better on Series X than PlayStation 5. We don't know. We literally don't have any idea the differences between those consoles on third-party games yet. We have no idea. But if it does, let's say there's a noticeable difference on those games for the next gen versions, could help push could help push those Xbox hardware sales. Johnny Pattons with a super chat. Thank you so much. Xbox insiders are predicting pre-orders may start very soon, while PlayStation 5 has gone silent. Possible that Series X does release this fall and PlayStation 5 does not. Johnny, they're both going to release this fall. We know that PlayStation 5 is already getting production. We have a whole bunch of leaked images from inside the factory. So the PlayStation 5s are being made right now. So they actually already have units that they're going to be putting on shelves for those games. So, for those hardware. So no, it is going to make this year. I think the main reason is Sony and Microsoft are just in this price war. They do not want to talk, like neither one of them. It's crazy. We have never seen this long of a standoff between these two with price, where it's like clearly we all know, like they know the price that they're targeting internally. No one wants to say it. No one wants to come out and drop that number. Part of it's because, let's say, you can always have the price come down, right? You can always, which you don't want to do, but let's say a worst world scenario. Let's say Microsoft announces that the Xbox is going to be $500 and they're going to, or 400. You can always come down. They announce 500. Sony announces 400. It's a worst case scenario, but if Microsoft really wanted to drop by $100, they could do it. Like they could take that cut. I don't think they would instantly do it, but they could. You can't do a price increase. So let's say they both think, oh man, Microsoft's worried. They think Sony's going to go 500, but they might go 400. We don't really know. We're going to price at 400, and then Sony announces 500. You can't go up. So there's a whole bunch involved. I think the pricing around the digital and the Lockhart plays an issue in this, because I think Sony wants to somewhat compete with Lockhart on the PS5 digital pricing. I don't think it'll be as cheap, but it's a factor. Microsoft's trying to figure out, how do we price Lockhart compared to PS5? It's just a mess. It's a complete mess. Hopefully we hear something soon. It's a hot mess going on right there. But no, they're all going to come out this fall. Forzathon with a super chat. It seems Xbox Game Studios Publishing has just stopped doing big deals. Kind of. Not on the marketing, but with the in-game exclusives. The last big AAA second-party game that came out from Xbox was back in 2016 with Quantum Break, and no others have been announced. Forzathon, one thing I would say is we actually have seen a few of those just recently. One prime example I would say is Stalker 2 that we just saw at the Xbox Next Gen Showcase. They just announced Stalker. It's going to be on PC, but it's coming out at launch, console exclusive. There was a few other ones at that show that were going to be launch exclusive to Xbox and not on PlayStation 5. So Forzathon, you are seeing some of that. You are for sure seeing some of that, but I think part of it, Forzathon, is Microsoft does still have a budget. People joke about the whole blank check at Microsoft kind of thing. But I think Forzathon, they've been so focused on growing their first party. they just bought a ton of studios. That costs money, even if the studios aren't gigantic. Stuff like Double Fine and Playground and all these teams they just bought. That is a lot of money, and you do still have a budget. So I think Microsoft's been so focused on, hey, let's get our first party better. Let's invest in first party. Let's spend the money on first party, that they've been doing a little bit less of funding games made by other teams that they don't own. So that's part of it, Forza Thon. But you have seen a little bit. Stalker 2, I would say, is a prime example. All right. Did I clear the super chats for now? Thank you so much, everyone. I think so. No, Tim Moore just dropped another one. My goodness. All right. I apologize to people that don't have super chats in here, but I have to hit these super chats. They're amazingly generous. Thank you so much. I'm still going to try and hit some non-super chats as well, but the super chats have been amazing. Tim Moore, do you think China will be the biggest market for Cyberpunk 2077 per the pre-orders China leak? Yeah, Tim Moore, I found that fascinating whenever you pulled that data out. I saw you say that. Very interesting. I would not have anticipated this beforehand. Never beforehand, Timur, would I have thought, hey, China's going to be the biggest market for Cyberpunk. We know China's become a pretty big market for especially like PC games. Look at PUBG. PUBG has just been enormous in China, and it's big on mobile as well in China, but on PC, it's also giant in China. So we know the Chinese market has really become a juggernaut for PC sales. But I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised that it appears that the highest pre-orders are in China for Cyberpunk. Never would have anticipated that. I would have 100% predicted the United States, the US, North America, if you want to, be generous, for example, being the premier market, but could be China. It very well could be. I'll say that the final sales, I'm still going to predict the US is bigger than China in Cyberpunk, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Apparently that game is resonating very strongly there. All right. Let me scroll back up. Let me hit some more of these questions. How long have we been going? An hour. I'm going to go a little bit longer than typical today, just because we've had so many questions and a record-setting, most viewers ever for a chat, most super chats. I want to keep going. This has been amazing. So let me hit some more of these. Let me hit some more. I'm sorry to anyone's questions I'm not going to be able to get to. The chat's just so big. If the chat keeps increasing like this, I might need to find a way to streamline the questions. But as of now, I'm still hitting as many as possible. Here's an interesting one about Marvel from Alan. Alan Larmy. Do you think there's still a valid reason to purchase this game on PC and Xbox? Alan, I would say if the game's really good, it's probably still worth picking up. Now, that said, if someone wants to make their voice heard, if they don't want to reward this kind of a business practice, like I said, for me, in terms of business, I understand the move. I'm still buying it. I'm buying it actually on PlayStation. They converted me. But if you're just an Xbox gamer and you don't like this, if you're like, hey, I don't want to reward this, then I would say you're completely in your right to not buy it. That said, I would say if it's really good, Alan, I still think it is worth picking up. You're still going to get the vast majority of the game. Yes, you're missing Spider-Man, which is a bummer. It is a major bummer. But if the game's good, I mean, you're still going to get 99% of the content. Spider-Man's an addition, and he's not even out actually until 2021. So at least in that launch experience, you're getting the vast majority of the content. So I'd say if it's good, if it was me, if you're asking my personal opinion, if I could only buy it on Xbox and PC, if it was really good, I would still buy it. But, that's going to be an individual perspective on that one. If you're completely against this kind of thing, then don't reward it or buy it when it goes on sale. Here's an interesting one from your chaos. I have no inside information, but I think Sony is leveraging their film rights to get Marvel on board with this and such. Here's what I'll say, your chaos. They definitely are in a strong position to sort of do that because, as you mentioned, they have the film rights. So I don't know that that's like the full reason. For example, just because you have film rights doesn't mean that you have gaming rights, right? They're not the exact same thing, but it already does mean that Sony is already pretty in bed with Spider-Man in general, right? So they definitely already have that in with Spidey that an outside party would not have. So I think that the film rights are probably a part of this, just like it was with the exclusivity for Spider-Man. Now we know that Disney approached them and said, apparently you can make whatever superhero you want. Insomniac chose Spider-Man, but we know Sony and Spidey have a very strong relationship historically in general. So I would say your chaos, it may not be, I don't think it's like the main or only factor, but it definitely is part of it, right? The Spider-Man branding has become synonymous with Sony for years and years and years. So it definitely does play a part. All right, we got another super chat. Ooh, 2 super chats. Killian, thank you so much, with just a quick shout out. Fall Guys Game of the Year 2020, just saying. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, Killian. I am going to totally play it. I've heard it's a blast. Haven't gotten a chance to yet, though, but I definitely will. And then Forzathon with another super chat here. Thank you so much. How do you think Xcloud is going to do? Thank you. This is a good question. Do you think it will help Xbox gain some mindshare in Asia with the huge mobile market it boasts? Forzathon. 2-part answer for you. First of all, what do I think about Xcloud in general? I think it's going to do really well for Microsoft. I think it's going to do much better than Stadia. And there's a real prime reason why I think it's going to do a lot better than Stadia. And that is because it is tied to Game Pass. The main thing that makes Stadia such a big bummer is that you're just streaming, and then you also have to re-buy your games, right? You get a few games if you're like a Stadia, the higher tier subscriber. I don't remember the name of it, but you get a little bit more games with that. But most of the games, you still have to buy them basically full price and then get access to just the streaming version of it. Whereas xCloud, it's directly tied into your Game Pass. So all that Game Pass library eventually, now it's going to be 100 games. It says over 100 at launch. So I'm not sure the full extent, but eventually xCloud and Game Pass, you're going to have like all that access. I just think it's just in such a primed, better position because of Game Pass than Stadia. So I think it's going to do really good for them. In regards to the Asia market, that is very interesting. And it's very interesting for a big reason, Forzathon. Phil Spencer himself said that one market that really stood out to him in interest from the metrics they were seeing internally was Asia. He said Asia had a lot of demand from what Microsoft's seeing internally. So I think it could, Forzathon. We know that Microsoft as a console maker is basically DOA, dead on arrival in Asia. If you look at Japan, if you look at these markets, they've just never been able to break in. And they've been trying for multiple generations now. They just don't have the mind share. Like, they just don't. It's all about Nintendo and it's all about PlayStation in those markets. So they just have never been able to get a grip there. But Game Pass and xCloud might be their foot in the door. Maybe they can't really sell consoles there, but they might be able to get Game Pass subscribers, especially like you said, with mobile being such a big market. So could be Forzathon. Little too early to know for sure, but it has potential. All right. All right, we're going to pick out a few more random questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for the record-setting chat. Biggest chat this channel's ever had. I know I've shouted it out a couple times, but thank you so much. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the time it's my birthday. My birthday's on August 23rd, so we're getting close. We're almost there. Thanks so much, everyone. Just going to pull out a few more questions. No, here's one from Lisite. I hope I'm saying that right. Did the Q1 talk already happen? No, Asite. We've been so busy with so many other questions. We haven't done the full scale breakdown. So let's do that. Let's break down the PlayStation Q1 results really quick. So for those that have not seen the data, PlayStation just had their best Q1 ever, the best ever. They set new records for revenue, for profit, for software sales, etc., etc. Digital percents up over, I think it was 74%. Let me look. I believe the exact percentage was 74% digital share. That's amazing. Just absolutely insane results for Sony. Yes, 74% digital. Now, obviously, that's boosted some by the whole COVID-19 pandemic impact. Obviously, that's going to have an effect for people not wanting to go out and go to stores and buy digitally. But before that, they were already at 66% or 60. It was over 60%. I apologize if I got that percentage a little bit off, but they were already over 60% digital. So they're on a tear. They're on a tear in terms of digital, which is high profit margins. Now their PS4 sales they were good. I wouldn't say they were mind-blowing, especially for what we're about to see from Nintendo. So just get ready for whenever the Nintendo financials come out. Theirs are going to be pretty insane, I think, for hardware. But PlayStation had a solid result on hardware, I would say, especially for this late in the generation. 1.9 million PS4s was the exact number, I believe. Let me double check. But I believe we're at 1.9 million PS4s. Yep. And then the lifetime's up to over 112 million PS4s. So we're getting closer to that 120 million. So overall, it was fantastic for PlayStation. Just utterly amazing results. They're riding high going into next gen for the PlayStation 5 launch. So yeah, they're in a good spot. They're in a very, very good spot. I would say the two things that stood out to me the most from those results would be that digital percentage being so high, and really just like the software sales. Software sales were insane. Just the overall software volume was huge. So great results across the board. Like there's literally not anything you can point at in those results and be like, ooh, that was bad. Like I said, the one that might be the most would be the hardware sales, and they're still very good. They're still very good for this late in the generation. It just isn't, mind-blowing, but it's good. Johnny Pattons, I think we will see more from Xbox in August for Series X that was not shown in the July show. I hope so, Johnny. I hope so. We know that there's going to be like some Lockhart news supposedly this month. I do hope, though, that we see some more games. I do. I hope we see some more. I hope this show isn't just hardware focused. I want to see some more games too, because I want to see some more in-game stuff. That's been the biggest bummer. The whole biggest bummer to this lead up to next gen, I feel like, is so little in-game footage. Like even that counts the PlayStation conference, by the way. Both of them. We've seen little bits. We've seen a little bit of Ratchet and Clank in game. We've seen a pretty good chunk of Halo in game. But so many of these next-gen games, we just haven't seen much of. I want to see game play. Johnny Pattons, I'm with you. I hope we see some. Another super chat dropping in from Mariano Pampa. Thank you so much. How do you feel about the extra cost now with both systems needing an SSD to play next-gen games? What cost do you think we are looking at? In terms of the consoles themselves, the SSD is probably going to be, a big chunk of the price of those consoles. Now, SSD prices are indeed coming down. They're not near as expensive as they once were, but these SSDs are pretty darn fast as well, so they're pretty high-end SSDs. So I'm sure that is a pretty big chunk of these consoles price tags. Like I said before, I'm expecting both Series X and PlayStation 5 to be $500. $499 is what I'm expecting. So yeah, but I think it's probably worth it for what the SSDs are going to be able to do in these consoles. So you are going to pay a bit more of a premium for them, and yeah, it's probably worth it in the end though. In terms of like the add-on SSD, like that you can put inside of the Xbox, that's not going to be cheap. That's going to be really expensive, I bet, depending on the size of the storage too. Obviously the bigger of those little cards that you can put in that enhances your SSD memory, the more expensive. But I would say they're all going to be not cheap. Those proprietary quote, quote, memory card SSDs, they're going to be expensive. They're going to make you pay quite a premium for them. And then Regulator saying with a super chat, thank you. How many subscribers is PlayStation Plus at? It's 44 point. Let me see. It's over 44 million. Let me double check that. It's a new record too, by the way. I know that. We're at PlayStation Plus subs. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it back up. Let me just pull up my tweet. Let me see. Sorry, I know this is taking a while. I want to make sure I give you the right number. I don't want to give you a wrong number. 44.9. 44.9 million subs. Wow. PlayStation Plus, it's a new record. Highest subs. So amazing. Think about how much PlayStation Plus costs yearly. I mean, obviously, some of those people are going to be buying 3-month subs or 1-month subs or 6-month subs. You know, there's a whole bunch of different ones you can get in on. But yeah, 44.9 million PS Plus subs. That's a lot of money. You know, which raises an interesting question about Microsoft potentially dropping the Xbox Live Gold, because Microsoft does not have that many Gold subscribers, clearly, obviously. You know, Sony's the market leader. They have more PS Plus subs than Microsoft has Gold subs. We haven't gotten the Gold subscriber number for quite a while from Microsoft, but it's clearly not going to be that high. But the main point is that a ton of money is being made by these companies on these subscriptions. You're talking billions of dollars, you know, over time. You're talking billions for Sony and Microsoft from subs. So it's going to be a big move if Microsoft does it. You know, if Microsoft really does drop off Xbox Live Gold, even with them not having that high of a Gold subscriber, it is a lot. So, I mean, it's potentially a lot of money gone, you know. So I think they think they're going to make that back through Game Pass, through microtransactions, things like that if they do it. Here's what I'll say. I don't think Sony's going to drop PS Plus for a while. If Microsoft announces Gold is going away, I don't think you see Sony instantly announce, well, PS Plus for multiplayer is also going away. I think that's going to be a bit of a wait. I think it's going to be one of those things where Sony, over time, if they feel pressure, I mean, losing essentially 45 million subscribing customers for money, I don't think they can do it. At least definitely not right now. Maybe if PS Now gets bigger, but not right now. I don't think they can. All right, I'm going to hit 2 more questions. 2 more questions. I am sorry to everyone whose questions I will miss. There has been so many today. Thank you so much for the amazing chat. But I only have time for 2 more. 2 more. Let's see. Sorry, there's so many questions. I'm trying to pull through for 2 more. All right. Yeah, I agree. Johnny Patton's here saying Xbox just needs to come out and say what the F the price is and be done with it. If it's $500, just say it. Same with PlayStation. Johnny Patton's, I'm in agreement with you. At this point, someone has to go first. Someone's got to pull the plug. Don't know who. Someone's got to do it, right? We can't just sit here and forever. So I think Sony is dead set, like just dead set. They will not announce price until Microsoft at this point. There was one point where I thought maybe Sony was going to announce before them, whenever I thought that this state of play was going to be the pre-orders and the price. I thought, okay, Sony's just going to go first and then Microsoft's going to go after at theirs. At this point, I think Sony literally won't. Like, they'll just be, I mean, I don't know how close, but like close to launch and just be like, whatever, and then announce it. I think Sony truly, literally will not announce. I don't know why, but at this point, whatever. Just do it. Rip off the Band-Aid and just do it. Someone needs to just go. I know that's not necessarily, quote, quote, maybe the best business advice because this all comes down to business, but at the end of the day, someone has to go. Like, one of you is gonna announce first, so someone just needs to do it. Sony's not gonna do it right now at this state of play. Microsoft, just go. Just announce the price. Like you said, if it's 500, it's 500. If Lockhart's 300, 400, whatever, just do it. Someone needs to get the price out there. So at this point, I would just tell Microsoft, now that we know that Sony's clearly still waiting. I think Microsoft might have been waiting to see also if Sony was going to do this at this state of play. And now that Sony's like, nope, whatever, just go. Just announce it. Somebody announce this. And then last question, last one. Let's get one final one. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, all the way down. Let's pull one from the very bottom of chat for the people still here at the end. All right, John Geraldton with the last one here. John, you get the last one. The whole Microsoft plan is to have one service eventually that is just the current Ultimate. They will definitely drop Gold eventually. Good comment, John. I do think that Microsoft believes they want to make it as easy as possible to access their games, as easy as possible to get their services. I think you're onto something. The plan eventually is one plan, Game Pass, period. If you notice, they dropped the quote Xbox on the branding. It's still called Xbox Game Pass and it still has the logo next to it, but they're streamlined the way it looks. It's just the logo and Game Pass. It's trying to be simple, clear messaging from Microsoft. So yes, I agree. Eventually they want everyone under one service. I do think Gold eventually, one way or the other, either just is Game Pass with it, or it's just there is no pay for multiplayer. Either way, yes, eventually, I agree with you, John. Game Pass will just be a thing. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for a record-setting live chat. Biggest live chat we've ever had. Final things here. Like I said, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We do 1 to 2 of these a week, depending on how big the gaming industry news is. If it's a slow week, just 1. If it's a huge week, we'll do 2. So make sure you drop that sub, and we'll do another one of these here soon. Make sure you hit the like if you can. Lets the YouTube algorithm help people find and discover this channel. Thanks so much, everyone. I will either catch you on the next YouTube video if you just follow me here, or if you follow me on Twitter, I will catch you on Twitter soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Stay safe. Play some games, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye, everyone, and thanks for a record-setting live chat. Bye.